Welcome, everybody, to episode 2 of the Despite Your Directions podcast. I'm
We're
joined
back,
again
baby.
by Michael, as you can hear,
Hello,
semi-professional
I'm
comedian.
enthusiastic. Oh, I've always wanted you to say that. I've always wanted you to say that. And now I feel fulfilled. I mean, I can cancel the podcast career
Yeah,
and I can move on.
a little bit of behind the scenes. We tried recording this podcast a few seconds ago, the intro to it, and I refused to say it, but I'm feeling nice now, and
I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, we've just arrived. I'm still in my lake house pool in LA.
Of course.
We're not. Someone's got to spend those pesos that I've been making from the cart. Actually, don't worry about it.
When you coming home then? Huh? When?
I mean, with this Corona stuff, probably early January.
Oh, well, fair enough.
Because as you know, I'm terrified of flying. So when I go across I only go by boat.
Paddle boat, right? Like a little dinghy.
No, rowboat.
Oh, rowboat, of course.
Yeah, by myself. Rowboat
Yeah.
boat.
Well, I mean, at the very least, and you're gonna have some serious biceps by the time
So
you're done rowing.
I feel like if I sail from September, then probably by the time it's all worked itself out, I'll probably be in the UK by January.
That's good. Yeah, if you don't get taken by some weird current and end up in like Somalia or something, but
I'd appreciate the attention if I'm honest.
oh God, they'd certainly give you some attention. That's
I bet.
perhaps not the
Oh,
attention you're looking for, but
well, it's despite my direction.
yeah, you made it to Somalia.
Yeah.
Um, yes, talking of attention, thank you to anyone who paid attention for the duration of the last podcast.
Oh,
Always
nice segue.
appreciated. Thank you.
It's like
I
he prepped for this.
Well, the funny thing is that I prepped far less this time around for this podcast. But
Oh,
no,
I prepped the same amount.
right, so not at all. Gotcha.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, obviously do appreciate it. As we said before, I know I linked it to a couple of my friends. I haven't quite had the nerve to link it to everybody, but I linked it to my friend Ryan, who is working offshore at the moment in Canada, and I thought it would be a nice thing for him to listen to and hear a familiar voice. So shout out to him if he's
What,
watching this episode.
what my
Uh,
voice?
well,
Hey
no, he's
Ryan,
not familiar with your voice, but
my good old buddy Ryan.
he's gonna
Uh,
get familiar.
mate, he's stop on his way back from LA if he's in Canada. Come
That's
hang out with me in LA.
That's true. He could just come down from Canada. I'm sure it's a short trip, right?
Bring some oil and some apple pies. Why not? It'd be great.
Of course. So,
Ryan, patron saint of the podcast.
oh God, he is, and
He was one of the first.
he's a big supporter of my other channel. To be fair, and the few fucking people that actually watch it. So,
I watched it.
thank you. Well,
Also, I listened to the podcast.
did you actually listen to the whole podcast?
I listened to most of it. I listened to the beginning and the end.
Well, I had to edit it, man, so I listened to it.
Well, I'm glad.
Yeah, but yeah, I hope that's
I
all
hope
good.
it was good.
I don't know. I'm sure we'll see. Who cares? It's only gonna get better.
I particularly enjoyed the paint thumbnail. That was great. I love that.
You know what's funny is I downloaded GIMP. You heard of that?
Isn't that the thing that Channing Tatum does in what's that movie called? This is the End when he dresses up in that suit.
Probably. I haven't seen it, but I'm
Gimp's a bad word though, isn't it? Gimp means a bad thing.
it depends, man. I wouldn't kink shame. You know.
Someone's a gimp, am I right, viewers?
I just can't find a suit that fits me.
Gimpy Kieran. That's got a
Oh
ring
God.
to it.
Yeah, but yeah, it's GIMP is a photo editing software. It's basically like Photoshop but free.
Oh, nice.
And I initially wanted to do like the thumbnail and the background image on that, and then I thought, what the hell am I doing? I can't photo edit. I'm just gonna go on Microsoft Paint. And I
The
just
classic. Like Mr.
yeah.
Beast style like that. Don't shame it.
Well, yeah, exactly. So
Oh.
by the time we get to podcast 100, I will learn how to photo edit.
Well, we might have a coloured background, by the
Yeah,
white
maybe.
one. But
What's wrong with
I'm just proud. I thought it looked great. I was really excited.
Well, I'm glad you did, man. I'll
So
see
anyway, Kieran,
I'll see what I can cook up this time.
enough of the intros, Kieran. What are we here to talk about this week?
Right. So I was thinking in terms of podcast ideas, I'm trying, especially in the kind of the early podcast, to think about subjects that we're somewhat experienced in, or something that
It's
we
about getting to know you or getting to know us.
yes, indeed, and just stuff that we kind of know and can talk about. Really, I'd rather not delve into subject that I'm not confident on for obvious reasons. So, without further ado, I was thinking we'd talk about working crap jobs.
Oh,
Yeah,
working for the man, right? Nine to
the
five.
man.
That's a crap job right there. Thank God we're professional podcasters. Oh,
No, this would be far
uh,
from a crap job, but let's not get ahead of ourselves, eh? But yeah, I've done my fair share of crap jobs, and really, actually, not. I mean, it's pretty much been two crap jobs, just very much lengthened out. Obviously, a lot of I basically I've worked in retail for over 5 years, while mostly while I've been studying, and it's just kind of luckily it's been a side gig. If it's full time, I think I would have lost the will to live. But
yeah, who knows if he'd still be here? No, I'm kidding.
who knows? Well, but here I am.
Oh, he's still here. He made it, ladies and gentlemen.
I did just for this. This is the only thing keeping me going.
Exactly.
So
After this, we'll see. But
if you don't see us uploading in a few weeks, then
oh god, no. I'll keep the podcast going, but it will be
or
boring
if
with just
yeah, if
me and
Michael does
Craig.
a solo episode, then some retail got too much for me. But
We
yeah,
took
I
on too
thought
much.
yeah, I thought we'd kind of talk about that. I'd like to have a refresher on the kind of jobs you've done, kind of things here and there
Oh,
that obviously you've not that obviously haven't been particularly stimulating in. So shall we start with your kind of
my crap
employment
job.
history? I feel like I'm interviewing you, but
Oh god.
no,
Um, I'm here to learn skills and to be a team player. And
yeah.
ah,
Do you work well with people?
uh, most people, I kind of spend most of my time socially with cats, but you know, cats are like people in many ways.
Okay, great. Well, we'll be in touch.
And please take the litter tray with you on your way out.
Perfect, perfect. If you can poo in the layer
Oh,
tray, we need a
perfect.
sample.
Perfect.
Oh God, I didn't even think. Damn you, God, it's better with the dad jokes.
Semi-professional comedian right here.
Oh
Um,
God,
I mean, let's launch straight into it. I mean, my
yes.
first job was in my first job was in retail, and it
Mm.
was at the popular British store Oliver Bonas, which is kind
What
of
is
like
that? Is
well
that popular?
no. Well, for people around the world who don't know what it is, it's like a kind of fancy ladies scented candle slash middle class woman clothing store type thing. And it was
Scented
a
candle,
Christmas.
middle class ladies,
It
right?
was it was a Christmas job, and I have one specific story that I really love telling because it's
Go
hilarious.
on.
Well, it's not hilarious, but it's but I remember so we were Christmas and obviously everybody want everything gift wrapped. And like it was a day where the tills had broken. And my boss was a bastard. My boss would basically just be like, if you did something bad, you get banished to stockroom in the basement. And I love that because being in the basement, I just didn't have to worry about talking to customers or anything like that. So I'd always be trying to do something that would enable me to get to the basement. Anyway, I put on tills and I had to gift wrap this like scented candle for somebody. And scented candles are quite hard to wrap because they're that weird ovally shape.
I mean, there's harder
And
things
like
to wrap.
yeah, there's hard things to wrap. I mean, like a sword would be pretty hard to wrap, but like they're in cell swords.
Oh,
There,
that would be
so
much more exciting if they did sell swords.
but I kind of dreaded wrapping these candles because they were like awkward to wrap. Anyway, I wrapped it and it was kind of semi decent. I did it in the old company way, and I gave it to the woman. I was like to her, "Is that all right?" And she went fucking bananas. She was just like, "How can you, in the 21st century, think that this is okay? I thought you were a professional store. I'm paying 19.99 for this, and this is the kind of quality wrapping I'm getting." And I
Right.
was so taken aback by it that my colleague came in and just went, "Oh, I'm sorry, well, wrapping is complimentary." But
That's
it
what
was
I was
it,
going to ask.
it was at that moment where I realized that the thing about working in retail, the thing that's hard is that, well, number one is that you're always on your feet, and number two is that the customers are such arseholes.
Yes. And the funny thing is that obviously the kind of the cliche of retail and the general ethos that most retailers have is that the customer is always right. And you
Oh,
find that, well, a large majority of the time, they're not really right. They're assholes.
well, basically, the story goes on. So basically, I was then yelled at by my manager in front of her, and she was like well satisfied by that. She was like, "Michael, this has happened too many times. Just go down to the stock room."
God.
And then on my lunch, so like I'll go down. I'm pissed off. I'm like I'm punching scented candle boxes, and like it's frustrating time for young Michael. And then like apparently 10, 15 minutes later, my colleague comes down and she's like laughing, and I'm like, "Oh, what are you laughing about?" And she was like, "Oh, so the store manager just tried to rewrap the scented candle and got the exact same stick."
Well,
So I was like, "This woman is never going to be happy." So I mean, that was my first crap job, and I hated it because of the staff.
yeah,
It was super like passive aggressive retail. I was just like, and I was just there for the cashola. And
of
I'm pretty
course.
sure I accidentally gave away. I showed some shoplifters where the jewelry was, but it's
Oh
swings
yeah.
and roundabouts.
We've all cost our companies a few pounds along the way, but
Oh well, I guess it's not your money, is it? So you don't really care.
yeah. Well, I feel like they make enough money. I'd never intentionally do it, but every now and then stuff happens, I suppose.
Well, how about you, Kieran? Like, what about what was your first job?
Uh,
Was it crap? See, I can picture you
yes,
as being one of those like washer boys, like one of the ones at the
hot wash.
yeah, that like women, older mature women play young lads in their swimming trunks to wash their cars. I can imagine you doing something like that.
Oh, what? Hang on, what? I'm like, oh, what? Yeah, yeah. I
You want the special service, darling?
just leaning over the bonnet, like, oh, there's that. There's a bit of dirt. There's a bit hard to reach. Oh,
Can you hear that squeak?
oh. Oh God, he's
Working
not
your
even
butt
using a sponge to clean the car.
off. Oh God! Thank God for those spongy pants.
Yeah. God, I
Oh,
mean, I didn't like wearing those pants. No,
oh, so that was your first job. I knew
no,
it.
it wasn't. It wasn't. Far less exciting. It was Sainsbury's, of course.
Oh,
I was debating whether to should I say the company name, and fuck it, it's Sainsbury's, man. Uh,
everyone knows it. Why in the UK?
we all know it. Other retailers are available. Um, but yeah, I worked there. I worked there for a good 5 years. I started
Oh,
when I just turned 18, and yeah, I didn't leave until I was comfortably 23. So yeah,
wow.
that's 5 years.
Comfortably 23. What are
But yeah,
you?
I was like
You
just
weren't
turned 23.
uncomfortably 23.
I was always uncomfortable when I was 23. That's
I know. I remember. Oh.
um yeah, that was a good chunk of time. And I always kind of say to myself, I think really a good 2 to 3 years into that job, I was probably done with it, and
Mm.
I stayed a couple years longer than I probably should have done. I was just kind of going through the motions at that point. But the thing the thing with that is that it was part time, and I always was studying while I was doing it. So it kind of gets you through it because you're like, "Oh, I know this isn't going to be a permanent thing." In fact, the first few months I was there, there was someone who was probably probably into their 30s by that point. They were one of the customer service ladies, and they were like, they literally they saw I was young. They still had I still had some like life in my eyes, and they were like, "Don't get trapped here. Do not get trapped in retail. So many people come through these doors and they don't leave. Like, don't do what I did. Like, I've been here
Fucking
10."
hell. It's not a
Yeah.
mental asylum. Jesus.
It was really serious and it stuck with me. And they were like, "I've been here 10 years and I don't see myself ever leaving. Like, you don't do what I did, only do it for a certain amount of time and then get out of here, do something else, don't get stuck. Make sure, like, don't make the mistake I did," with tears in their
He
eyes.
says he says drowning in the vat of acid. Like, what the?
And 5 years later, I'm still working retail, but
So what were your major duties while you were at Sainsbury's? Do you have any funny stories, like, or any weird jobs that you used to do there?
um,
Except for service the clients, obviously.
oh yes, well they were the ones that paid extra.
Oh,
But I think, as I said, I think working for a big like corporate supermarket kind of company, they really you're really quite restricted in what you can and can't do and that kind of thing. You don't get much leeway, I suppose. But I suppose the most exciting time for me was probably when I was doing the trolleys. Um,
Wow.
yeah, this is probably about as exciting as it got.
Did you ever like do a like what's that thing called when jousting? Did you ever do that with a colleague? I would have 100% done that. Just run on the other ends of the car park and just bucked it down into the parking lot, smashed into the Honda parked by your manager. Oh,
Yeah, I'd have liked to have done. I'd have liked to have done. I was literally probably the only person out there doing it at the time, which is what I
oh,
liked though, because there was no one to tell me what to do. I would make that job. So a thing in retail is that you tend to try and make jobs last,
oh yeah, of
right?
course, because then
Because
you don't have to do something else.
yeah, or usually because there's nothing else to bloody do after. So you like
No.
to pass the time. You think I'm going to really stretch this out. And so there were times when there would be a few trolleys kind of like smattered around the car park, and I would just I would take my sweet time collecting those up.
Did that piss
Um,
you off though when people did that? I,
what, being lazy?
I'm always a guy that takes the trolley back, but like,
No, it didn't piss me off because, and this is one of the perks of it, is that the people that didn't take the trolley back weren't getting their pound coin back. Uh,
oh, so you got to keep them.
so I would get, well, technically you're meant to hand them back in the till, but like obviously I'm
Bit of
not,
cash in hand to the
but
trolley.
I'm not gonna, I'm just gonna pretend I didn't find any. They're not gonna, I don't come, they don't like fucking
What was like a
like
good day
search.
then for money on trolleys? It was a good day.
Bearing in mind I only done like 4 hour shifts and I didn't even spend that whole time out there. I probably get no more than £5 probably.
You know
But
that
that's
movie, The
all
Terminal,
right.
where Tom Hanks is trapped in
Yeah.
an airport and he's using the trolleys to get money for Burger King. So I'm picturing like you running around like buying a wrap of the day on your way home.
Yeah, I never seen that film like, but I know the whole premise of it. Yeah,
Uh,
but the thing with the pound coins as well is that it was weather dependent. So if it was a
oh,
really bad
weird.
day, yeah, if it was a
Yeah.
really bad day and it was really raining, or just really crap weather, you'd be get more likely people just abandon their trolleys and run back to their cars. So actually, like when people,
Oh, I see. When it rained, that's
yeah,
when the money came. There was raining. It was raining pound coins. To
it
put it
was,
so
man,
bluntly.
yeah, it was raining that moolah, but the most disappointing thing is when I would see, like, a trolley abandoned, and I'd see that little, like, shiny glint in the handle of the trolley where there was a coin in there, and I would go up to it, and I have a little key to unlock it, and I suddenly take the coin out, and it's one of those little metal coins that people put in, like, just the trolley coins. They're not just pound It's not a pound coin. It's just one of
Oh,
those little metal, like, keyring coins that people kinda put in, um, and I just like, I'd look at that and just "You bastard, why don't you use a pound coin?"
you got me good, you bastard.
Yeah, so that was one of the most disappointing feelings ever, but yeah, it was actually better to work in bad weather, for the trolleys.
What about like a funny story or something bad that happened?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Or the worst thing that happened? What's the worst thing you did while at Sainsbury's?
Oh
You fart on the
god.
donuts. That's a constant fear of mine. When I buy freshly baked things, I'm like, what if somebody farted on this?
Um, yeah, I was always quite respectful to the stock. I'd say what was fun was, like, the out of date stock that I had to sometimes process, uh and like, so we had like a kind of box of like all like the out of date stuff, and you'd have to like
Yeah.
scan it all and process it before you just throw it out. And the amount of crap that like big supermarkets throw out is unbelievable. But um, what was quite
Yeah.
fun is getting a lot of like the breakable stuff, like the eggs and stuff, and scanning them and just fucking lobbing them into the boxes and just hearing them like smash everywhere and stuff
But
because
you
they
ever
were
tempted to like take some of that stuff home though and eat it?
you would have got sacked
Oh,
if you didn't
really?
do that. Yeah, they were really, really strict on it because if you ate that shit, then you could then possibly try and sue them if you got food poisoning and stuff. And I don't know. It's the same reason because people say, "Oh, why don't you take some of the out of date stuff to like the homeless people and whatever?" Like, because a lot of out of date stuff is still very,
What,
very edible.
to poison them?
Yeah, yeah, just that'll clear the homeless people up now.
Yeah, put them out their fucking misery. Give 'em a bad donut.
Exactly. No, like
Uh,
obviously, so like a lot of stuff that is out of date actually lasts quite a lot longer than its sell-by date. And people are like, "Well, why can't you give that to the homeless and whatever?" And it's because apparently there was a time like a few years ago when you could, and then one of these homeless people like got sick off one of these out of date things that was donated to them, and they tried to like sue the supermarket. Um,
Lol.
and so I think now it's like basically it's illegal. You can't give homeless people out of date stuff. Supermarkets can't donate that stuff. But it's quite it's a weird thing, right? Because you get milk that's going out of date today, but you think, okay, you could probably use that for another couple of days or something. Like give it a smell, it's all right. And you get like a big, like 3 liter, big old like thing of milk, and you just unscrew it and you just tip all of that down the sink. Um, and it's just such a weird feeling, like just throwing away that amount of food. One of the funny things is that there was a time when it was really, really cold, and we were tipping loads of milk down the sink. We had like a lot to throw out, and then
Mm.
overnight the milk froze in the pipes. Um,
Oh,
and when stuff freezes, obviously it expands, and all the pipes
yeah.
underneath the store burst. 'Cause he had
Because of the milk.
frozen, gone off milk.
Oh, you
Um,
had like frozen cheese. Ew.
yeah,
Ew.
yeah, gross, huh? And then so it's just like
Oh,
oozing out all this like fucking like frozen, disgusting milk.
it
Um,
must have been utterly dreadful.
yeah. But I think because all of this was like because I haven't worked in about 2 years, so I'm like racking my brain trying to think of the interesting anecdote because there was so many, but it's just trying to go through them. Like I
I had a
did,
mate who worked at I had a mate who worked at Sainsbury's.
yeah.
It wasn't Morrison's. It was one of them, and they were putting out like freshly baked stuff, and it was near the end of the day. So obviously, I think like towards the end of the day, they stopped putting stuff out because like it's a early morning thing, or they're gonna go out of date. And there was like apparently some woman came up to him and was all like, "Oh, have you got any more of those like Danish bake pastry things?" And
Lovely.
he was like, "Oh no, we sold out for today. This is like 8 p.m. something
Mm,
like that." And he's like, "Oh, we sold out for today. We're not really making them yet. We'll get some in the morning." And she was like, "Are there any in the stock room?" And he's like, "There might be ones, but we can't give you those because they're probably out of date now." And she was like, "I'll give you a blowjob if you get me one of them."
oh my god. I mean, she must
And
have
he
really
was
liked
all, and he
Danish.
just, and apparently what he was like, "Okay, just give me a second." And he went and checked with his manager.
What?
Well, no, he went like to his manager, being like, "There's a woman who wants a Danish pastry," and she's like, and and like, she said if I give her one, like, I'll get a blowjob. And his manager was like, "Well, obviously the professional part of me is saying that you
Saying no.
can't because it's out of date, but the lad part of me says go for it, son." But like, he was only joking, and like,
Of course.
he went back to the woman, was like, "Yeah, sorry, they're all out of date." And she was like, "But what about then?" He was like, "No, no, it's fine."
What the
And
hell?
she
Why would you
was,
check with your manager?
I think he was scared, and he thought this woman was crazy and was going to kill him or something.
I would
Like,
find
who offers somebody a blowjob in the middle of in a Morrison's?
someone who really
Oh,
likes fucking Danish
I,
pastries, I guess, right?
aisle 7 is the dirty aisle.
Oh dear. You know, it would have been funny if he goes to his manager and he checks and he's like, look, she's offering me a blowjob or whatever, like for this Danish, like what should I do? And and the manager's like, oh, don't worry, I'll you
I'll
get
do
back to
this.
work, I'll
Yeah.
I'll 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 handle with her.
And
I'll
like
handle her.
he goes to clock out, and he like goes like, see you later, Grant. Like,
All right, Grant, I'm just going on my break, okay?
don't come in here. We're just talking about pastry. That's pastry on her face. Oh no, sorry, that's probably a bit too
I'm
far.
oh no. I'm just gonna explain to this customer exactly how wrong this offer is in my office, okay? So
What? Why are your trousers down, Grant?
oh no.
That's what Grant says. Oh no.
That's
I'm gonna
oh
get
no.
financially ruined for this.
Should have
Oh.
should have accepted their first offer. I don't know why she went with the why I went to the manager, but
I think she was like in her 60s.
to be fair, I did actually that whole anecdote. I was picturing like an older lady.
Yeah,
Like I
that's
didn't, I
all
wouldn't
they
think
always
someone
are.
like younger would be that enthusiastic about pastries. So I
Yeah, I
assume,
mean, well, it depends, I guess. You
I
never
guess
know. People are into weird stuff.
they are, they are indeed, they are indeed. But yeah, well, how would you like some more weird Sainsbury's anecdotes? Most
Let's
of
do
mine
one more. I want to hear one more. I want to hear like a weird one, like a weird one.
a really weird one.
Yeah. One that you still think about, like, oh, that was odd,
Hmm.
or that was scary. What about one with customer rage?
Customer rage. I'm so like anti-confrontational. And whenever someone would get angry, I would just like suck it up.
No, but those are the best. Like, no, no, no. Tell me, like. I mean, I never like. I'm not normally angry at people. I'm a
Yeah.
bit like. I love like doing that thing when you just like when you try and like not like out logic them, but they say something so stupid that you're just a bit like, this is hilarious. I'm not gonna let this go. I'm gonna be like, well,
Well, I had someone who was I quite admired their logic when we had the baskets only till
oh,
and
yes,
someone and I basically when you're on the basket only till your job is basically to shout at people, sorry, it's baskets only all
yeah.
day as they try and queue up in
Baskets
their
only,
trolley.
bitch. You know,
Yeah, and they
yeah.
try and queue up in their trolley. And so we had all the baskets piled up at the end of the aisle. And this person comes up and I'm like, sorry, sir, it's baskets only. And he's got all this stuff in his trolley and he scoops it up and dumps it into a basket and then picks the basket up and then dumps the stuff, the contents of the basket onto his belt and then shrugs his shoulders at me like Alan Partridge style and then walks up to be served. And I just like he's got this kind of like just this grumpy look on his face. I just look at him and go, oh, that'll do, sir.
I thought baskets only was like you had a minimal items limit, like 9 or
We
10
did, but
items.
our minimum items was about 10, and there might have been a bit more than 10 in there, but, like, he'd
But
committed
you
to
were
it.
but you were too
Uh,
afraid to confront him at that point.
yeah, it's like if there was, like, 11, I think if there was 11 items, he probably would have picked up one of the items and just dropped it on the floor or something, like, he was in on a mission. Yeah, but,
Sorry
I
to go
mean
off on one. Sorry to go
go
off
on.
on one here, but like I remember. Okay, so I have an anecdote about me and Kieran, and it happened well, like a year and a bit ago. I basically, me and Kieran, we know each other because we went to uni together. For those who didn't listen to the first episode, and I would often like drive my car into uni because it was quite a far walk, and there was a parking spaces around his road. So I parked there, and Kieran is right by the uni, so I just park there and walk
Yeah,
out.
you were lazy, we get it.
And one day, I decided to park on his road, and one of his neighbours came out and had the biggest go at me. He came up to me. I remember he just pointed at my car and went, "Is this your fucking motor?" And I was like, "Me?" And he was like, "Yeah, fucking you." And I was like, "Yes, it is." And then he was like, "You better fucking move it." And anyway, so in the interest of not dying and getting beaten up by this slightly aggressive man, I decided to get in the car and move. But I was like really sarky and difficult with him. Like I wasn't gonna let him get away with it. So I was just so I like got in the car and like started inching backwards and forwards and being like making a real mess of it. Just because I knew it was infuriating him. And as I drove away, I rolled down the window and I was just like, "Is this good now? Is this happy? Are you happy now?" And he just looked at me. I honestly thought he was gonna like throw a tomahawk at me or something like that.
Yeah,
And
well
anyway, the reason I tell this story is like straight afterwards, I tell Kieran about it. I'm like, "Oh, this guy just was like," and Kieran was like, "Oh, if I had known, I would have come out and said something. I would have told him to leave my friends alone." And I'm like, listening to these stories, I'm like, you would have said nothing.
it's
You would have just
different.
been like, uh, maybe you can't.
It's different when you're working and you just realize there's it's thing is when I'm working, I take none of it personally. Like
Oh
if
no,
someone is
same, yeah.
angry or pissed off with me, I just think like most of the time they're actually angry with the company, and I'm just like,
You're
you
just
know,
there. You're a face.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. I'm the messenger, and they are shooting me. I
yeah.
apparently not meant to do that, but people are sometimes a bit thick, I suppose. But
I think people
so
just
I
get
never.
frustrated and they just don't know who to take it out on, and it's just like you can't take it out on me. But in retail, especially, as long as you're just nice and you're considerate and you like, yeah, I understand why you're frustrated, then that normally gets me out of most things. If you're like sassy and annoying to them, then then you're
Yeah, I
asking for
just tend
trouble.
to agree, even if I don't. Like they just kind of have a go
Mhm.
at me, and I'm like, I
I'm
agree
quite
that
good
is
at
wrong.
I quite like when people yell at me. I'm quite good at switching off and just start thinking about other things.
Yes,
And at the
yes.
end, I'm just like, oh, I can totally understand why you feel like that. I'm really sorry.
I
Let
heard
me see what I
someone
can get done for you.
I heard someone like when that kind of switching off process, someone calling that going into the man zone, where
Like,
you're just like you're zoning out and like Spanish Flea is just playing in the back of your mind, and it's just
I remember in my current job, we had like a 1 o'clock meeting every day, and it's basically a 1 o'clock bollocking session where we get told why we weren't good yesterday. And I remember just sitting there, and I had this. I was playing some kind of video game at the time. I think it was Red Dead, and I
Mm.
remember just thinking about the mission I played last night on Red Dead, and I like tried to replay the whole thing in my head. That was my happy place.
As long as you didn't get so immersed in it that you started like doing like gun things with your hands and like,
Yeah, like pew pew pew.
like Michael, anything to add?
I have a plan.
I have a plan.
Oh, that's a Red Dead reference for any other references out there.
If you don't get those
But
references, stop
but
fucking
then
listening right now.
every time like I'm in a situation where I'm getting told off for things, that's like something like that will happen to me. I just start thinking about other things. I'm just like,
The best way.
yeah, well, this sucks. I mean, there's sometimes when it's really aggressive and it's terrifying, and you think you're gonna die, and that's horrible. I have a. I've been telling you about the story when I was driving back up to Norwich from uni, from back from London to uni, and
Uh,
I was driving down a dual carriageway, and this dual carriageway has loads of like roundabouts on it. So you've got to like slow down and speed up again, and slow down and speed up again. And there was a guy coming up behind me, and there was like a lorry on the inside, and I was overtaking him around the roundabout, and there's a guy like right behind me, flashing me and like
yeah,
beeping at
yeah.
me. And I like I then pull into the side, and he tears past. I put the middle finger up because I'm like, this guy's an arsehole. And then the car like slowly pulls in front of me and like slows down from 60 to 50 to 40 to 30, and I'm like, this guy's gonna stop, and he's like shaking his fist at me, and I try and overtake him, but his car's way faster than mine, so he's been able to easily keep up. And then he's rolling down the window, like gesturing that he wants me to pull over so we can have a fight.
Yeah. Doesn't he do like a little kind of like little fist kind of
Oh,
gesture at you?
he was so angry, and he looked like this kind of he looked like he was gonna cut me. Like honestly, this guy looked like he was not mucking about. And I can remember calling my uni housemates at the time, being like, "Look, I'm going to try and not stop at any traffic lights, but can you guys come out and be ready to beat this guy?"
All right
Eventually,
then.
though, he got bored and pulled away. But like, Jesus Christ, I've never been more scared in my life.
Oof. My God. Didn't you
Uh,
say that was the moment you decided not to like have any road rage, like never
yeah,
to
from now
gesture
on,
to anyone again?
like the only thing I do now on road rage is I beep. But other than that, like I don't flip off. I don't do anything like that. I just like if I'm flipping off, I do it like behind. Like I flip people off, but I like hide my hand behind the wind.
It's the safest way.
Ever since then, though, I realized like, okay, that guy would 100% would have beaten the shit out of me if he had the opportunity, 100%.
Yeah.
And it wasn't worth it, like, but he was a dick, and I was just like, yeah, but. And then afterwards, you had that feeling where you're like, yeah, I could have fucking taken him,
Could have
but
taken him, sized him up.
I never had that feeling. I was like, that man would have killed me.
Yeah, not good. Yeah, you like looking at the dashboard, seeing how much fuel you've got, like praying that you can just
Well, you can outrun him, but I'll get you on the miles per gallon, mate.
exactly. Your car might not be fast, but it's got great fuel economy, so
Oh,
you'll.
I might have been able to be fair. I just topped up, so
Oh, you'd have been fine, man. Yeah, you
yeah.
probably could have.
In my
But yeah,
car, 60 miles per gallon as well. Oh, I'd
that
be
is
all right.
beautiful. I wouldn't have been. Yeah, I wouldn't have been so
He
successful on
was
my
in
car.
he was in one of those new minis, so God knows. But I reckon my car's probably more economical than
Yeah,
that. I
probably,
hope.
probably just about. I
Oh,
wouldn't like to chance it.
no, no, no. Could you imagine doing that? Like trying to outrun somebody by miles per galloning it.
Yeah. Well,
Oh,
that was all. That would have been your best hope, man. That would have been. You might have
yeah.
had to. Hey, would
I
you, if you kept following you, would you have just kept driving, or would you have got back to your house and just told everyone, like, right, empty the kitchen and utensils?
I was in halls at the time,
Oh,
and I had these really really like football laddie, but they were big lads. Um,
perfect.
Housemates, yeah, they would be perfect. Every time we went clubbing, they always got into a fight. Every
Those
single
kind of
time.
people. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. They love fights,
The ones who
and I
go
was
out
like,
clubbing and they're looking for it. They want
and
some.
I knew they were in because they were like, oh yeah, we're having a FIFA tournament. You should join when we get back. And I was like, yeah, okay,
Classic.
whatever. So I knew they were in. So I was like, and these guys, they would have 100% gone out and just kicked the shit out of this guy. But like,
Hmm.
that was my plan was to hopefully make it without stopping at a traffic light. That was my plan.
Well, you would have made their day if he followed you all the way back to Halls.
I would have been amazed that if he had, but like honestly, he was so angry. I thought he would. Like it was
Would
insane.
you, if you got back and the boys were waiting, uh, would you have like just like kind of stood there with your arms folded, like, okay, get them boys, and just watch them?
Coolly roll a cigarette.
Yeah, and just
No, what I
watch
would have
them
done,
like
I would have
travel.
asked the
Would you
boys.
have joined in?
I would have asked the boys to just like shield me, and then like I just call him a cunt and
Hold
stuff,
me back, boys.
and then like I just be like just get him back into his car and tell him to fuck off, call the police or something. I
Well,
don't
you'd
know.
like
I
to
honestly
think it
don't
like
know,
that.
Kieran. Maybe I would have picked him up. We've driven into a dark field and beat the shit out of him. Who knows? Probably not.
You'd think by that point, if you'd pulled up and there was like what, like three other of your like housemates or something like waiting for you,
Yeah, you feel that gut, wouldn't you? Yeah.
yeah, and
In a
then
public space.
yeah, then I think probably the road rage would have subsided enough by that point.
I would have hoped so.
Yeah.
Maybe I would have just like driven into a Mackey's driving and been like, "Do you want me to get you something?" I'll
Clearly,
make
if
up
you
for
want,
it.
look,
Well,
as long as it's on the saver menu, I
yeah,
don't mind.
exactly. Come on, less than 99p. I am a student. Come on.
It's all right. I have a
But
chicken
anyway,
mayo,
that
and you
was
pay for my
honestly
fuel.
that was honestly the closest I think I've ever come to dying. But that man had the look in his eyes that he was going to slit my throat.
Well, there's certain people you can just tell right when looking at them. You're like, okay, this guy's serious.
Well, when you see those, we've got a bit off jobs here, but
Of
when
course.
you see those documentaries about serial killers, and they're always a bit like, yeah, well, they were fucking dickheads, Like, I don't really regret what I did because that guy
Mm.
had it coming. I'm the guy that had it coming. That was me in that situation.
I suppose, man.
Oh, it
And
was
so,
stressful.
before you kind of made the decision to kind of tone back on the road rage, were there any other moments of kind of confrontation with people?
Oh, I mean, yeah, there were a few, but I was always. They were never like that. I remember once. This is maybe when I first started driving, second or third. I was a learner driver,
Yeah.
and my driving instructor was sitting with me, and this guy was like beeping me, and he was beeping me because I was a learner and I was doing the speed limit, and he was annoyed that I was trying to learn how to drive. And we got to the traffic light, and this guy like got out of his car and was like, "Problem with you guys, you're fucking slow." But he didn't like come to the
You're
car.
a
He like
learner.
yeah, exactly. And my driving instructor was just like, "Put it in reverse and reverse into the back of him."
Really?
Yeah.
Did you do it?
No.
Was he being serious? Was he genuinely like, I don't
He
mind?
was just like Michael, put it in reverse, just reverse to the back of him. I'll take care of it. And I was and he was like, okay, reverse gear, and I was like, I'm not doing this. Well, I think it went green, so I just like, oh, quick, it's first, and then we drove away.
Off we go. I would have totally stood there
But
at that point.
it was a deadpan way. He just went, put it in reverse and reverse into the back of him.
Mm.
It's
Let's
great.
be honest. I mean, most learner cars have the instructor have their own pedals, right? I assume it's
Yeah,
the
he
case
did
with
have
you.
his own pedal. He did, but it's
So
only
if
a
he was
clutch.
that, oh,
It was
only
only a
clutch.
clutch and a brake. So I was just like, I was like, this would be a terrible idea if I did this.
Yeah,
Because
I
I'm still
certainly
the
would.
one who's driving, and I doubt my driving instructor was good. He was a bit dodgy, my driving instructor, anyway. But I
Oh,
was
you
a
don't
bit
say.
like, yeah, and so I doubt he would have been like, yeah, yeah, I took the blame. I'm sure he would have just said, oh yeah, it was an accident. But like, oh, it was good though. Who did you learn to drive with?
It's funny. I learned to drive with a. I think driving instructors are just they've got so much character, haven't they? They've got their little
Oh,
sayings and stuff. And this
they've
guy
got to
was
be good conversationalists. That's
yeah,
the thing.
this guy was just such a character. And he, funnily enough, he taught my sister. He taught probably pretty much anyone in my social circle that can drive learnt through him. Besides maybe one, they
So he's kind of
all
like the godfather of the driving instructor world.
yeah, they all learnt through him, and we all share anecdotes about just little sayings that he used to say and stuff. He used to kind of say stuff in innuendos, but the kind of person that would say it accidentally. And he had this
All
very
right.
kind of like
It's
weaselly
real
kind of
stiff.
high
That gear stick is real stiff, Kieran. Just tease it a little bit. Yeah, that's it.
tease it. Like like he would say like, and this is the thing is he's completely oblivious, and he was completely just like the sweetest man, but he would say these like really awkward things like there was I remember so one of my friends who was learning with him, they turned down a road that had lots of speed bumps,
Hmm.
and so he turns down this road, and my friend is like, oh, this road again, and he just turns and goes, yep, it's bouncy time. Uh,
Oh, Oh, his lucky wife. Oh God.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. And
It's
he so he did
fancy.
yeah, he would
Yeah.
just say these kind of phrases and stuff, and it was just always like there was another time he he was driving past, I think, like, maybe driving past John Lewis.
Mm.
This is I think it's my same friend, and my friend used to work at John Lewis, and, uh, and so they'd
Uh-oh.
previously talk about this, that a lot of kind of girls that he had this driving instructor had taught had worked at this John Lewis. So
Yeah.
rather than saying like, "Oh, I taught a lot of people that worked there," he drives past John Lewis and he goes, "Ah, all the little girls."
Oh,
Is
oh,
is how he
oh,
phrased it. And again, it was
oh,
just because he phrases things really weirdly. He didn't mean
yeah.
it to sound creepily,
He's not a
but
bad bloke. He just sounds like a weirdo.
he just he's just one of those people that just talks in innuendos, but completely accidentally. And so there's so many times his name was Stephen. And there's so many times we'd come back and be like, "Oh my god, you never guess what Stephen said today." And we'd all because we all had him as an instructor, and it was just great because it would it's sad actually because he's retired now and pretty much most of my friends have driving licenses or aren't planning to get a license anytime soon. So it's yeah, it's unfortunate because I just really enjoyed when someone in the friendship group was learning with him. You just couldn't wait for them to get back from a lesson
Yeah.
and for them to be like, "Okay, what's he said this time?"
Uh,
But yeah, he was very entertaining. But yeah, retired
classic.
now. Good instructor though, man. Passed first
Yeah.
time.
I had to pass second time, but we'll get into that on another podcast.
Yeah,
Kieran, I think
well,
this has been a pretty successful podcast, don't you?
I think so. Yeah, I think we're probably hitting around
We've had some
very
fun stories. You've learned some
around
more things about us.
yeah.
How Kieran one time nearly got a blowjob from a lady in Morrison's. That's right, Kieran was the friend I was
It
talking
was
about.
me all
It
along.
was Kieran. How was it, mate?
Um,
It hurt, didn't it? She bit. Anyway,
well, she enjoyed her Danish. That's all that
he's
matters.
he's editing this out.
Totally gone.
As
Totally
always,
gone.
Kieran. Well, as always, Kieran, where can people find us?
And this, well, they found us already.
Wow, we'll click on another episode, maybe episode 1 or episode 3.
Despite your directions, Michael, they have already found us.
Oh, well, I'm
Um,
also thinking if you want to type a suggestion in the comments for what you want us to talk about, we
yeah,
should do that.
yeah,
I had an
definitely. And
idea for another podcast.
okay, well, let's keep that between us. Let's keep
Yeah, we'll keep it off there, but we'll be back soon, baby.
we definitely will. Thanks as
It's
always.
thanks for having me, Kieran.
Oh, anytime, man, anytime.
Cue the outro music.
Okay, we do need to have some outro music actually. Okay, do you
Wait,
go on, get it? I know what's going to happen. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. Okay, thanks again, everyone.
bye.
Goodbye.